When you think about heavy industry, power plants, huge factories, there are two things you can always count on. One, they need a ton of water. And two, that same water is constantly trying to destroy everything it touches through corrosion. It's this incredible engineering puzzle. And today, we're going to look at a company that's been solving that puzzle for over 40 years. So that company is called Cleannflo, and they've been at this since 1979. But here's the thing, it's not just about, selling some chemicals or laying down some pipes. It's about a whole philosophy, a complete way of thinking about how to manage water in these incredibly tough environments. They're really tackling the biggest challenges, one drop at a time. And man, what a journey it's been. I mean, look at this. They started out super small back in '79, just a handful of products for cooling and boiler water. But then you see the story unfold. The '90s, that's when they got recognized for their serious corrosion research. Fast forward to the 2000s, and suddenly they're winning these huge awards. And get this, they're not just selling treatments anymore. They're actually engineering entire water plants. And now, today, they're a huge player with this massive, massive portfolio. So what's the big idea behind all this growth? Well, it all boils down to this one core concept: total water management. And look, I know that can sound like just another piece of corporate jargon, but it's not. It's a real philosophy. It's about taking three different things: innovative chemical products, expert engineering, and serious R&D, and weaving them all together into one seamless package for their customers. Okay, so how do they actually pull this off? Well, we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the legacy they've built. Then we'll dive into their massive chemical arsenal. After that, we'll check out the advanced water plants they actually engineer. And to wrap it all up, we'll get into the science that makes it all work. All right, let's jump in with that legacy. You got to understand, in this industry, one little failure can cause a complete shutdown. We're talking millions of dollars lost. So the big question is, how does a company build trust and keep it for more than 40 years? Well, you do it with proof. Real, tangible proof you can point to. And what's cool about this is you see two sides of the story. On the one hand, you've got this trifecta of ISO certifications: quality, environmental, safety. For any industrial client, that's the absolute bedrock. That's how you know they're serious. But then, on the other hand, you have this major award with UNESCO, which is all about their impact on actual communities. It's this perfect mix of having the process down pat and having a real purpose. And that credibility, it really rests on these 5 pillars. Now, the first 3 are kind of what you'd expect, right? Reliability, performance, ROI. Standard stuff. But for me, it's the last 2 that are the real game changers. This constant push to innovate, to grab new tech, and this massive support network. We're talking 20 service centers, all plugged into a central R&D lab. That's what turns them from just another supplier into a true partner who's got your back, 24/7. Okay, that brings us to the first huge piece of their operation: the chemical arsenal. And I'm not kidding, this is like a vast library of specialized chemical formulas designed to solve pretty much any industrial problem you can dream up. I mean, the sheer range of what they offer is just staggering. This is just a quick overview, but just look at it for a second. You've got stuff for cooling water, boiler water, fireside treatments, construction chemicals, even automotive stuff. It's this huge portfolio basically designed to be a one-stop shop. So let's zoom in on a couple of the really critical areas and see how it all works. All right, let's talk cooling water systems. You have to think of it like fighting a war on multiple fronts at the same time. First, you've got scale. That's minerals building up, getting hard, and just killing your efficiency. So boom, you deploy anti-scalants. Then you've got corrosion, literally eating your equipment away, so you hit it with anti-corrosives. Next up, foulants, things like oil or iron just gunking up the system. That's where dispersants come in. And as if that's not enough, these warm, wet places are a paradise for bacteria, so you need a whole range of microbiocides to keep them in check. It's this constant, complicated chemical fight. Now, boiler systems. They're a whole different animal. We're talking about water under crazy high pressure and super high temperatures. Your number one enemy here is dissolved oxygen because it just causes insane corrosion. So they use what are called oxygen scavengers to get rid of it. And yeah, you still have to worry about mineral deposits, just like in cooling systems, but the chemistry is way different because of the high pressure. And finally, you've got to manage all the sludge that builds up, making sure it doesn't harden and cause a total system failure. And what's great is that their arsenal covers both offense and defense, so to speak. On one side, you have these powerful descalants. That's your cure. They go in and strip away all the scale and gunk that's already built up. But then on the other side, you've got all these specialty cleaning agents for prevention and maintenance. We're talking about everything from cleaning radiators to deep cleaning the actual factory floors. It's really about taking care of the entire environment. But look, chemicals are only half the story. That brings us to their other huge business area, engineering advanced water plants. If the chemicals are the ammunition, this is where they design and build the whole fortress. Their plant division basically builds complete turnkey solutions. And what that means is they handle everything, from the very first idea on a napkin all the way to flipping the switch. And you can see here the range is incredible. They build massive plants that treat raw water before it even gets to the factory, sophisticated reverse osmosis systems, and even something called zero liquid discharge plants, which are designed to recycle literally every single drop of water. And this table just gives you a sense of the massive scale they operate on. We're talking about some of the biggest names in the business trusting them with critical projects. I mean, look at Adani Power, a 4620 megawatt plant. That is huge. Or NTPC, the national power company. They've even built the super important RO plants for the Delhi Metro, which is the lifeline for millions of people every single day. Here's a perfect real-world example. This is a complete sewage treatment plant they built for the Airport Authority of India. It handles 100 KLD, that's 100,000 liters of sewage every single day. And this isn't just some part they sold them. This is a whole complex piece of infrastructure they engineered and installed from the ground up to do a really critical job. And here's one of those RO plants for the Delhi Metro we were just talking about. It's super compact and really efficient. You know, in a city that crowded and busy, systems like this are absolutely essential. They're working behind the scenes, providing the super pure water needed to make sure that a massive piece of public transport just works. Now this is where their work gets really fascinating for me because it has such a direct social impact. They're not just working on these giant industrial sites. Cleannflo also builds community water treatment plants, just like this one. They're literally bringing clean, safe drinking water to people. And get this, they're often using the very same high-tech RO systems that they use for their biggest industrial clients. Okay, so we've seen what they do, the chemicals and the plants, but now it's time for the how. Let's pull back the curtain and take a look at the science and the brainpower that makes all of this possible. All right, welcome to the brain of the whole operation, the Cleannflo Research and Testing Center. And let me tell you, this is not just some lab in the back. It's NABL accredited. Now, if you're not familiar with that, it's basically the gold standard for testing labs in India. This is ground zero. It's where every single problem gets analyzed and where every solution is created and tested like crazy. And they're not working in a vacuum either. They partner up with some of India's top-tier research institutes. We're talking DRDO, the Defense Research Agency, and BARC, the Atomic Research Center. Super heavy hitters. But what's really key is how they take all that high-level science and turn it into practical tools, like these awesome little portable test kits. It means their engineers can go out into the field and do advanced lab work right there on site. So this all comes together into a really clear 4-step process for every client they work with. Step 1, deep analysis, back at that high-tech lab. Step 2, they develop a custom treatment program, and a lot of times it's eco-friendly. Step 3, their engineers are on site using those portable kits to monitor everything in real time. And Step 4, it's all wrapped up in that 24/7 support promise to make sure everything just keeps working perfectly. You know, this quote from the company really just nails it. It says it all. They don't think they're just selling you a barrel of chemicals or a machine. They're marketing a whole concept, that total water management idea. And the way they make it real is through their incredible after-sales service. That's the heart of their entire business. And that really brings us to a final and pretty huge question. Think about it. Industries are growing, but water is becoming more and more scarce. The old way of doing things, just use water and then dump it, that's just not going to work anymore. It's becoming obsolete. It's pretty clear the future has to be about integrated, smart management systems like the ones we've been talking about. So the real question for all of us is, how fast can industry around the world actually catch on and adapt to this new reality?